friends. All for art and art for all.
Hello, Gary the Rat here.
Today let's do a doodle that has some textures. So we're going to start with a big square. A nice big square. Give us some places to put different textures. And let's go ahead, after you have your big square, and put an X in the middle. And we will make 4 different textures. I thought we'd make one texture that looked kind of hairy. So let's make one that looks like fur, maybe. So just some lines that maybe remind you of hair, and they can come together and they can curve. So these are just kind of curved lines. I'm doing 2 or 3, and then maybe I'm changing directions. And then I think I'm going to do some that remind me of a cactus. And for my cactus, I'm going to make, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do lines up and down first. I'll do some lines up and down first. So 3 lines up and down. And then I'm going to make it a little darker along the line. A little darker on both sides of my line. And I'm leaving some hatch marks. I'm letting my line be a little spiky going up. And I'm drawing up at an angle a little bit. And I'm drawing up at an angle, up at an angle on both sides of my lines. Then I'm going to put a few dots in the middle. Maybe there's room for another line right there. Just go ahead and draw that guy in. And now I'm going to put in some cactus thorns. So some cactus thorns coming out of my dots. And then these lines maybe looked like places where the cactus was bumpy, you know? Like the lines in between might be like the lines in between my finger, because some cactus have lines going down the sides. Let's get all my spikes on there. Okay. And let you finish your spikes. What else can I do? I think I'd like to do one that looks like it's kind of like it's woven. So let me do the woven one over here. So if something's going to look like maybe it's fabric, and I don't think I have an example handy of the kind of fabric I mean. Here's the fabric of my shirt, and if you see there's kind of a pattern there, that shows the weave the weaving is how the threads are put together. So let's do a weaving pattern. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3. And then change directions. 1, 2, 3. Change directions. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we get kind of a line. It goes off that way. Now, this time we're going to start down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it doesn't have to be super exact. So everywhere, I'm just gonna go and I'm putting lines that go different directions near each other. So right here, there's hardly any room. That goes up. 1, 2, 3 this direction. 1, 2, 3 up. 1, 2, 3 this direction. 1, 2, 3 up another direction. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now I have a texture that reminds me a little of fabric, one that reminds me a little of fur, and one that reminds me a little of cactus. And for my last little section, maybe I'll do one that reminds me of stones. So I'm just going to choose a random shape that maybe reminds me of a rock. And maybe I'll put one here in the corner. And another one here, but I won't make it quite round. And then I'll fill in this space. I'm going to fill in some of my spaces with some irregular shapes. A circle or a square would be considered regular. Irregular is like, well, it's not quite that. And then I'm going to go in and fill in between with maybe some little rocks. So whatever you can fit, and maybe after a while only dots fit. And that is a doodle that you don't have to write this word, but the idea, texture. So texture is how something feels to touch it. And this pen is really smooth, and you can show a texture that's really smooth by doing like a white highlight on something. And I tried to make a hairy texture, a spiky texture, a woven texture, and a pebbled texture. All right, friends, all for art and art for all.